Hello everyone, my name is Justin, welcome to Middle Age Modding, and this video is about the modding of Skyrim Special Edition, though you could use it for Skyrim Legendary Edition as well. And it's really designed for people new to the modding scene. It features things that I wish I knew when I started that I'm going to share with you to hopefully make your journey a bit easier as well. So Skyrim itself has a huge modding scene full of very talented mod authors doing the stuff for free in their own time. So I think it's important to show some respect when we're communicating with them, and also to make sure you put up endorsements to show some proper respect for their work. So in terms of tip 1, to use a good mod manager. Here I can only recommend Mod Organizer 2, as this is a standard for most mod guides, and for good reason. It's logical, it's flexible, and importantly it has virtualization, which is really important because that means it doesn't write over the actual core game files at all, and it means you can add and remove mods without screwing up your game. So on top of this, you need to set up your Steam account outside of your programs folder, and I strongly recommend using an SSD, ideally a dedicated SSD, though this isn't essential. And so as we enter into the murky world of Skyrim modding, it's also important to choose a good mod guide to learn the basics, including merging plugins, creating a bash patch, the importance of compatibility patches, and how overriding textures works. So here, in my opinion, the two best guides for beginners, the Tuco guide or the Phoenix flavor guide. These are both excellent guides, a little bit different each one, but really good. As you get better, there's some more advanced guides out there, such as the Yash guide, Nordic, Cenotar, Aim guide, various others. These are also good, but more complicated, and I recommend approaching those once you have more experience. So tip 3, use save mod order and save plugin order a lot before making changes. This is a really good feature of Mod Organizer 2. It lets you roll back to where you were before you made changes. So if you break something, you can go back to where you were. That is really good. Tip 4, ask Google. The chances are, if you're stuck somewhere, someone else has been stuck there, and in my experience, 90% of the time, if you ask Google, there is an answer there waiting for you. So don't be afraid to do that. Tip 5, test builds step by step. Don't just load 200 mods and just fire the thing up and hope it works. Do it step by step. Load 5 to 10 mods and then fire it up. Move around to different world spots using the console, and then just test it. So here the best ways to do it, 2 ways. One is to go through from the start without any mods. Once you leave the cave, then save it and then start adding mods and just test it from that area outside the cave. Or number 2 is to use the alternate start mod, or one of the equivalents. So here, to test it, you need to run around. You need to visit lots of different locations. You need to put the machine under some kind of stress. So use the console to visit different areas, get into some fights, visit at least 3 inns, and try and go to an area with lots of different characters if you're using character makeovers, to check for the blackface issue or sometimes crashes that result from that. Number 6, about crashes. Unfortunately, if you're modding Skyrim, you're going to get to know about crashes sooner or later, and identifying crashes is one of the most frustrating and sometimes rewarding parts of modding Skyrim. So basically you identify it through trial and error. If it's a consistent error, then that's much easier to deal with, because you can normally identify what mod's choosing it. If it's a random crashes, that's much more frustrating, but ultimately it always comes back to mods conflicting with each other, or too many things going on for your PC to handle. So with generally it being the former. Don't waste too much time trying to get one mod to work. If you find that one's causing a crash, I like to just remove it and move on, but up to you. Number 7, mods versus plugins. So everyone talks about mod orders, but actually there's 2 orders. There's the mod order, which is the mods changing your game, and there's the plugin order, which tells the system when to fire up the different mods. So not all mods need a plugin. Basically, if it's just a texture or mesh, you probably won't need a plugin. But if anything that adds anything new to the game or makes any kind of major change, will need a plugin. And the plugin order is much more sensitive than the mod order. So you can put mods in some cases all over the place and it will still work, whereas plugins is not so forgiving. remember, loot only sorts plugins, not your mod list. So, and also in other cases, remember the mod order and the plugin order must match. For example, with character makeovers, it has to be in the same order. Tip 8. You have a 255 cap on plugins. Okay, you do not want to get anywhere near that before you start firing up the game, because using patches is going to take up a lot of that stuff. So what I like to do is normally mod up to a maximum of 180 mods, then start patching. Otherwise you'll go over your cap. So here there's three really good sources of patches: Quazpic, Lost of Skyrim and WizKit. Patch compendiums are all really useful. There's plenty of others on Nexus. You can use ESL flag files to go over this 255 limit. Don't recommend that at the start because it stops loot from working properly and also stops bash patch from working properly. So, tip 9. Once it's built and stable, leave it alone. This is the hardest one of all, because the very fact you're watching this video means that you are the kind of person who likes fiddling with your game and changing it, and that's fine. But once you have a nice stable build and it's good enough, I recommend just leave it alone and be very cautious before adding new mods to it. Speaking of which, knowing which mods you can add or remove. So safe to add mid-game are normally textures, animation skeletons, new homes if there's no conflict, new quest mods, and new character mods, so new NPC mods. These are normally safe to add, but I strongly recommend you make a safe save beforehand. In terms of safe to remove, there's not a lot that's actually safe to remove. Textures and meshes you can take off, but that's about it. Anything with scripts or SCSI, I strongly recommend you do not
They just
remove
wouldn't
them.
leave me alone. I hope they get lost in
So
the wilderness.
that's as we're approaching the end of this tutorial. I hope this has been useful for you. So the builds you've been seeing here are sort of 600 mod builds that I've made using mishmashes of various guides. They are great fun to play with. Generally, I found as you go over about 300 mods, things start to get a bit more unstable, so it becomes a bit more difficult. But and you can have perfectly great looking games with just 150 mods or less. So anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll endeavour to answer them. But other than that, I wish you all the best in your modding journey.